So the Gemara brought him machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. The Mashicha that has to be done on a ship. Rav holds you could just move it a little bit. Shmuel holds you have to move it a full ship length. The Gemara wanted to suggest that the machlokes Rav and Shmuel was totally in the machlokes tanoim. So the Gemara first brought one set of tanoim, which the Gemara said wouldn't be a raya from how you make a mashiach on a behema to how you make a mashiach on a svina. But right at the bottom of Ein Hema Beis, the Gemara suggested maybe Rav and Shmuel are arguing in the same machlokes as a different set of tanoim that we're about to quote. Agit Morgan, you look like you walked here. No? Oh, I didn't either. The Tanya, Svina niknas b'mashiach. A boat can be bought, can be nikna with mashiach. Rab Nosson Omer Svina v'oisa is niknas b'mashiach. So this is this machlokes. The Gemara is going to try to understand what's going on over here, because why is Rab Nosson mixing in oisiyos, which is not the subject of the discussion? The discussion is Svina. So Zog to Gemara, Rab Nosson Omer Svina v'oisa is niknas b'mashiach. Uvishtar and with star as well. So right off the bat, first let's make aleph beis over here out of the brisa. Oisius mandachar shumayi. What exactly is oisius have anything to do with this discussion that Rav Nosson brought it into the discussion? So first let's get straight to what the brisa is talking about. Svina niknes b'mashicha. So the Tanakama said that you could be koine a svina with mashiach. But oisius b'masira. Oisius b'masira is a whole new sugya. Oisius means if a malva has a star, so let's say Reuben has a star, that Shimon owes him $500,000. And the malva wants to sell the rights to that star, he wants to sell the debt to Levi. He can't just let Levi make a mashicha on the star. Rather, he has to make a masira, he has to hand over the star to Levi in order for Levi to be cutting the debt. And the Rashbam speaks out. The Rashbam speaks out. Why wouldn't Mashiach work? Because Mashiach only works to be kind the physical properties of what you are making a Mashiach on. When you pull something, such as an animal, that's how you're kind. But when you pull a paper, you might be kind the actual paper, as the Rashbam is about to say, but that wouldn't transfer the debt that that paper represents. If you're kind a star and you're just using the star as a bottle stopper, yeah, the actual paper you would be kind of with mashicha. But to actually transfer the shibud of the chayv, Reuben would have to actually physically hand the star to Levi, and that in fact would create a kinyan even of the star chayv, even of the shibud. Okay. That is the sheet of the Tanakam. Rabbi Nosson Omer, Svina v'oisiyos niknas b'mashiach. You could even be kind of oisiyos b'mashiach, ubishtar, and a star as well. Zok to Gemara, it still is difficult. Because before we can even try to discuss a raya from this brisa, see who holds like Rav, who holds like Shmuel, or who Rav holds like. And the Shmuel holds like, first we need to get clear what the brisa is talking about. So once again, the Gemara asks, why would Rav Nosson introduce star when we're discussing the purchase of a svina? Star the svina, lamali. Why would you need a star for a svina? It doesn't work. It's metaltli. It's metaltlin. And Dr. Shbam, umichamoshcha, kanya, kedin metaltlin. You can't be mashiach, you don't have to write a star. Elolav, hachikaton. This is what the brisa that we just quoted should read. Safina niknas b'mashicha, the oisiyos b'mashiach. The Tanakama shared his sack. Svino, we consider like metaltlin, and therefore you're going to be koined with mashiach. And oisiyos, you're koined just by handing it over. So the Tanakama made two statements, and Rav Nosson, he comments, he responds to the two statements. Svina b'mashicha, which I would agree with you on, right? Because the Tanakama also said Svina b'mashicha. The oisiyos b'shtar, but oisiyos is not enough to do masira. You also have to write a star on it. Let's see what this means. The oisiyos b'shtar is Dr. Rashbam. Play af b'shtar. Oisiyos, you need to have both in order to make a kinyan. the tarvayu bo mesira ushtar. So I have to hand over the original star that has the choiv written on it. Plus, I have to write another star that says, I am being makna to you, the star that represents the choiv that Shimon owes me. This will be consistent with the shita of the Rabbanan that we're going to quote soon. You need to write a star on the star, and you have to actually turn over the actual star. If the way you want to, for a title of Noson's comment of Oisios B'Star means you only have to write a star on it, in Kenya of Noson Domer Kaman. We're going to be quoting a machloikas shortly between the Rabbanon and Rebbe, and this shita won't fit in according to anybody if you hold that you only have to write a star to transfer a star, but you don't need Masiri as well. So in fact, you must need both. Because otherwise it would be like Rebbe, but like Rabbanon. The Imkain Ika Shalosh Machloikis would be a three Machloikis, of which there's no mention of that anywhere. So once again, let's learn this, the Brisa in its final form after we forever it. Svina Niknas B'Mashicha, the Oisos with Mesira. You have Nosan Omer, it's not enough. Svina B'Mashicha, it seems like they're agreeing by Svina. The Oisios B'Shtar, but Oisios need not only a Mesira, but they need a star as well. Freit the Gemara, Svina B'Mashicha Hainu Tanakama. It seems like Reb Nosson is arguing on the Tanakama by Svina, because otherwise he would not have commented at all on Svina B'Mashicha. So it seems like he's arguing. So why would he repeat Svina B'Mashicha if that's exactly what the Tanakama says? Elo de Rav Shmuli K'menayu. Let's say, yes, they both say Svina B'Mashicha, but they must argue about what the Mashicha is. One of them holds like Rav, that moving it a little bit will be a good Mashicha. And the other one would hold that you need to move it a full ship length in order for it to be a Mashicha. So even though they're both saying Svina Niktos to Mashicha, they don't define Mashicha the same way. So who holds what? Who holds like Rav knows like Shmuel? So the Rashbam shares that with us. Zok Rashbam, Svina b'Mashicha lama leila Rav Nosson l'meima. Why would Rav Nosson repeat Svina b'Mashicha if that's what the Tanakama already says? Hainu Tanakama. Elalav the Rav Shmuel kamivu. The Amr Tanakama Svina Niktos b'Mashicha kula k'Shmuel. The Tanakama said Svina Niktos b'Mashicha if you move it fully, meaning you move it a full ship length. The Yosy Rav Nosson do Tana Basra, and Rav Nosson came Litzfuye to add on to what the Tanakama says. And they say, yes, it's for Mashiach, but you don't have to pull it that far. The Afilu of Mashiach Koldu, Koshu, is Niknas Karav. So that's how the Gemara wanted to suggest it's Lemikatanoi. So it's not like they're not explicitly saying that they're holding Rav or Shmuel, but since they both say Svina Niknas Mashiach, we would assume Stam Svina Niknas Mashiach. Stam Mashiach is pulling it a full length. The fact that Rav Nosson adds again Svina Mashiach, he wants to say a bigger Chiddush of Mashiach, even a small Mashiach like the Mashiach of Rav will be adequate to be Koinash Svina. So once again, we want to say that there is no machloikis legabe how far you have to hold the Svina. At least there's no machloikis Tanoim that we could find. The Kula Amma, Sada Tanakama, as Rav Nosson holds, Ikarav Ikashmu. Either that a small Mashiach is enough, or that a big Mashiach is enough. Usfina Kula Amma like Pligi. And in fact, there is no machloikis by Svina. There's a pure agreement by Svina. And the whole machloikis, the whole discussion in the Brisa is only about Oisios, where the Tanakama holds that Oisios is enough in Mesira, merely handing a shtar choiv over to the purchaser will transfer the shibud, and Rav Nosson held that that's not enough. You also have to write a shtar on the shtar to transfer it over. And this was the response that Rav Nosson gave to the Tanakam. B'svina v'adei modinullah. I agree with your comments about Svina that they're niknas for Mashiach. And whether Mashiach is a small Mashiach or a big Mashiach like Shmuel, that's not the discussion of this price. And I disagree with you, Tanakama, by selling Ishtar Choiv. It's not enough merely to hand it over, but you also require with it that you wrote a star on the star. Zok Gemara ubeplukta dani tanoi. This machloikis asked how you're koina a star, how you transfer over the shibud of a star, the shibud of a loan, will be totally in a different machloikis tanoim. So we now have a machloikis between the Tanakama, who holds you don't need a star for ICOs, and Rab Nosson holds you do need a star. We're now going to find another machloikis about the same subject. Zok Elik Rashbam, we plucked it high tanoim. Kamiv Rab Nosson and Rabbanon. Our Rab Nosson and our Rabbanon that we just quoted about how you're going to sell, how you sell a chayv, we'll find now another set of Tanoim who are arguing the same thing. The Rabbanon Dahacha the Rebbe, the Rabbanon of our Brisa here will be consistent with Rebbe in the Brisa that we're about to quote. Rab Nosson Hani Rabbanon L'Kamon, and the Rab Nosson will be the Rabbanon. So it's going to be interesting to note because in the first Brisa, the Tanakama was the Stamish, so to speak, and the Yochid identified as the Bar Plukta of Tanakama is Rab Nosson. So usually we give more support to the Chachamim, the anonymous Shita, because Chachamim is mashma the Roiv holds not like Rab Nosson, and Rab Nosson is the single dissenting opinion. But in the next brisa, it's going to be the Chachamim, what the Rashbam just said, is going to be the Shita that agrees with Rab Nosson, which would mashma that the Roiv is like Rab Nosson, and the Rebbe will be the dissenting opinion. But that we'll see when we get there in just a moment. The Tanya we learned. You can be kind of oisos with Mesira Divrei Rebbe. That sounds very much like the Chachamim of the Mishnah that we just learned, the Brisa that we just learned, that merely handing it over transfers over the Shibud. You don't need to write a star on the star. The Chachamim Oimim, Ben Kosav Alei Moser. Say if you wrote a star to transfer the Chayv, but you didn't actually hand over the original star Chayv, Ben Moser V'Loi Kosav. Or if you handed over the original star chayv, but you didn't write a new star chayv that's saying, I'm selling you the shibud in the other star chayv, so this seems to be that ultimately the machlokes is Rebbe and Rab Nosson. So the chachamim in this brisa is Rab Nosson, and the chachamim in the earlier brisa would have been Rebbe. So let's have a look in the Rashbam. So I'm just going to finish up the last line of the last Rashbam. The Gamal Miroya Libayuninu. I guess I don't think it means there's a machlokes on but it seems to be a machlokes as to who would paskin like. Because Bahach Brisa Sosam Karebi in the first Brisa that we had, it quotes the sheet of Rebbe, but it calls it the Chachamim. Well, it's Oishis Niklas B'Masira by itself. Uveidich Rab Nosson. Yet in the second Brisa that we just quoted, the Mandomer who holds the Chachamim Oimrim that you need both is actually consistent with Rab Nosson. Oishis Niknas. Let's see what this means, Dr. Rashbam. Ligvos halokeach as a chayv ben aloiva b'mesira shemos aloy hamal v'sishta. Reuben was owed $500,000 by Shimon, and Reuben sells the star to Levi. How is Levi koina the chayv, which means now he's the baldover, now he could mon Shimon and Bezdin, by receiving the star, the original star chayv, handed to him by Reuben? That's what completes the transfer of the chayv. The loiva can't say, yes, you have the star, but just because you have that piece of paper, that doesn't make you my baldin. That doesn't transfer my liability to yourself. He sold it to you. He never sold you the chayv that it represents. He was selling you a piece of paper. So you can't say that the fact that the star was given over to the lekach, in our case, that's Levi, it's a good sale. Kosav, so the Chacham said, Ben Kosav v'lei Moser, Ben Moser v'lei Kosav will not be a good kid, you need both. So what is this Kosav? Kosav v'lei Moicher l'lekeach. Reuven, who is the Moicher, who's the original Malva, writes a star to Levi, who's purchasing the chayv. Star Mechira, I'll star say. You write the star Mechira, I'm hereby selling you the star that represents the chayv that Shimon owes me. U'moser lo oisish star Mechira. And not only is Reuven giving to the buyer, to Levi, the original star chayv, but he's also giving him the new star mechira that he's selling the chayv with. But if he didn't hand over the star milva as well, you have to hand them both over. The because otherwise the Malva can tell the Lekach, in our case, Reuben can tell Levi, Niyar Ba'almas Vinulach. I never meant to transfer the chayv to you. I was just giving you a piece of paper. And that's why you need a star, because the star says, I'm giving you, by handing you the paper of the star, I'm giving you the shibud that stands behind the star. But the star alone, the new star written about the fact that I'm selling it to you, that also wouldn't be enough to complete the sale. They nickname the star el karka ve'avodim. Normally, you could only be a karka, and avodim who are hokshul karkayis with kinyan star. So therefore, it can't work to transfer a chayv. But Mesira works provided they get the star. So it sounds from the Rashbam that the main mechanics of the kinyan is the Mesira. But in order to clarify what exactly is being sold with this Mesira, you need a star to say that I'm actually transferring the shibud as well. Beautiful. So now we finished the Lema Ketanai and Rav and Shmuel, and we're sort of off on a tangent. We started the sugya trying to figure out how much you have to pull a ship. And suddenly we're talking about how do you sell a star. We're in a completely different sugya now. Titania, like a good Talmudist mind, we're now talking about something totally different from what we got into the sugya with. Titania, Svina Niklas and Mesira. Okay, we still have a little bit of Svina here. But my Okimta, Kerebi, who did you still line the earlier brisa line? You still the line like Rebbe, right? The Chachamim of the first brisa that we quoted is going according to Rebbe, right? Because in the first brisa, it was the Chachamim and Reb Nosson. So the Chachamim is going to be Rebbe who holds that Svina is b'Mashiach and Oisios is b'Masira. For the Gemara, if you hold of Kinyan Mesira and it worked for the Chayv, so Svina Nami Tikni b'Masira. According to Rebbe, you could be Kaina a Svina not only with Mashiach, but with Mesira as well, just handing over the control of the ship. The Tanya we learn, Svina Niktas b'Masira, the very Rebbe. The Chachamim Maimim Eloi Kana, the Chachamim hold with by itself, as we just quoted Rebbe as saying, Mashiach on the ship, or he has to rent from the Bailam the place where the ship is, and then the Rashbam says the Rishusa Shal Adam Kainalai, and then you could be kainit with your chutzner, I guess, if you own the waterway that the ship is in. We're assuming it's not on the trailer. So it's not shver. So we have a stira. Can you be kainit a ship with Mesira, or are you only kainit a ship with Mashiach? Where do you say that you're kainit it with Mashiach? That's in a simta, that's in a Rishus Harabim, where you can't be kainit with Mashiach. Because in order to be kainit something from Mashiach, it's not just pulling it; it's pulling it into your Rishus. If you're in a Rishus Harabim, you can't pull it into your Rishus. So there you would require Mesira. So now the way the Rashbam is learning that the Mesira is the superior kinyan, and therefore you need a Mesira here. But the simta, if it's like a it's not such a busy place, then we consider wherever you're standing as your place, and their Mashiach will work. You can pull it into your place, into your property. So let's see the Rashbam. Rabbi Svina b'Masira. That the Rabbi said you'd be kind of Svina b'Masira, as we just quoted him. Hainu b'Shus Harabim. That's b'Shus Harabim where you can't do Mashiach. Going Rokak Mayim Shev'Shus Harabim. There's like a muddy area in Rishus Harabim, which in such an area, which is like a puddle in Rishus Harabim, the Efshir b'Mashiach, there the Kinyan Mashiach would not work. The Ein Mashiach Ela Kishemoishech l'Rishusoi going b'Chatzah Shal Shneim B'Simta Kidlakman. Even the Efshir b'Mashiach, since you cannot use Mashiach, therefore Kanile b'Masira, you're only going to be kind with Masira. So now the Rashbam wants to do a little bit of housekeeping. V'haidika Omar Tanakama, the Rav Nosson, the Hainu Rebbe, that in the second brisa that we quoted, the Tanakama of Rav Nosson is in the first brisa that we quoted. V'haidika Omar Tanakama the Rav Nosson, the Hainu Rebbe b'Svina, the Hainu Rebbe Svina b'Mashiach, in the first brisa, where the Tanakama of Rav Nosson is the Chacham Moimer, that Svina is b'Mashiach, where does the Mashiach work? Hainu b'simta. That's only if you were in a b'simta where it would be possible to make kinyan Mashiach. Now we're talking about waterways. So what type of waterways are Rishus HaRabbims and what are simtos, right? So if you look at Mevuos Ketanim Hapsuchim Rishus HaRabbim v'yesh behen mayim usfina medisham. This sounds like a side street in Venice, right? There's a movie that had some body of water in it that you would be able to pull a ship into. So it was like a waterway that wasn't such a public waterway. The chivan the einer Rishus HaRabbim mamish. Since it's not a very busy thoroughfare, el the zimnin the dach ki b'nei Rishus HaRabbim ba'ayil lahasam. But when the Rishus HaRabbim is full, people also spread into the movie a little bit. And v'yesh Rishus l'adam l'shavasham. Unlike Rishus HaRabbim, when you're allowed to stop in the middle of Rishus HaRabbim, you are allowed to stop in the side street. Therefore, harehu b'rishus kol misha oimet sham. We consider that public property, we consider the public property as if it's the private property of anybody who's standing there at the moment. Because, like the Rishpam said a moment ago, it's the norm and it's acceptable and it's allowed to stop there. And therefore, it's theirs liknos b'mashicha ki'ilu hu rishusa. Mashicha will work when you're pulling it to yourself and you're standing in a place that's a legal parking spot. Therefore, we consider that a good kinyan mashicha. The chivin the afshir b'mashicha, and this is the controversial line that Tosfos argues on. The chivon the afshir b'mashicha, since it's possible to do a kinyan mashicha, lav urcha desimta b'mesira v'lo mikli b'mesira. So if mesira is such a good kinyan, it should work. Why can't? What's geitechon that I should do mesira? But no, since you could do mashicha here, mesira won't work here, which is a little bit of a funny type of svara. If you have two kinyanim, one's better. It's not like you have a good esrog and a bad esrog. You want to do a mitzvah in a mufur. A kinyan is not a mitzvah. You want to do a mitzvah in a mufur. But the Rishpam Shita is that since you could do Mashiach here, and I have to correct what I said before, and the Rishpam holds that Mashiach is the superior kinyan. So since I'm able to do the superior kinyan of Mashiach, Masira won't even work. Because it means Svina can only be connected to Mashiach if you're in a simta, in an area that Mashiach will work, the mashma of Svina loy mikni be Masira. You would not be able to be kind a Svina with Masira if Mashiach was possible. The derech is to be kind of oishyosh Masira, but the derech to be kind of Svina is only be Mashiach when it's possible to do Mashiach. And so therefore, Rishus HaRabbim b'Masira, the second brisa that quotes Rabbi as saying that you could be kind of a ship, the Masira, that's in Rishus HaRabbim, because you could not possibly have done the Mashiach there. The symptom of Mashiach came near Be'enai. So I just want to show you Tosfos that doesn't like Rashi. I'm not sure. It probably is. So if you look, it's a big Tosfos here, has a whole discussion of what is a superior opinion. Clearly, the Rashbam says that it's the Mashiach that's the superior opinion, that is the superior opinion. So look what he says. The Kashal Rabbeinu Tam, the Chimashicha u'Masira mitzvah saying, Shein Lasos element amufkor. The Rashbam is saying, since you could do Mashiach here, so Masira doesn't work, you have to do the nicer opinion. Not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah like an esrik that you have to do a mitzvah in a mufkor. So there's a whole vikuch about it, but the Rabbeinu Tam here is the Masira adivim in Mashiach. Rabbeinu Tam learns that Masira is a better kinyan than Mashiach, so he has a little bit of a different shot. But there's actually a machlokes. What is the best kinyan, and does the not best kinyan work when you could do the best kinyan? That's the sheet of Rashi of the Rashbam, but the Tosfos doesn't seem to hold like that. But there's a long shaila about it. Okay, Gavalta. Okay.
Giving over from one.
Yeah, like handing over the reins. So let's just do a little bit of an inventory here. We had two brises. One discussed a brisa between the Tanakama and Reb Nosson, which was the first brisa that said, Svina niknas b'mashicha ba'oishos b'masira. Reb Nosson emer Svina ba'oishos niknos b'mashicha. So we already established that there's no machlokes about about Svina b'Mashicha, that's agreed by everybody, and whether or not you hold a Rav or Shmuel is not relevant to this machlokes. But you also have a machlokes if oisiyos need a star or not. Rebbe holds oisiyos are only the Mesira, and Reb Nosson holds that the oisiyos require a star as well. That's how the Gemara interpreted the machlokes. We then quoted another machlokes, which we said is the same machlokes. It's just the identification of who said what is different. And the second brayso says oisiyos niknas b'Mesira divrei Rebbe. So that already identifies who the Tanakama of the previous brayso was. It must have been Rebbe. You need ksiva and Mesira, which is the sheet of Reb Nosson. So in essence, it's a machlokes Reb Nosson and Rebbe. So that's the first thing we learned, a machlokes Reb Nosson and Rebbe, how you transfer over a shayla. And now in Rebbe itself, we have a shayla how you're going to both. You're koyet b'Mashicha when Mashicha is possible, such as Mashicha into a simta, but you're not koyet b'Mashicha if it's in the Rishus Harabim, and there even for a ship, even for a svina, you would use kinyan Mesira. So that's where we're at. So Zokim b'Mayu Kimta lahabes Raisa. So the last brayso that says, in Rebbe's opinion, that you're koyet a svina with Mesira is Rishus Harabim, right? We just said it's Rishus Harabim, and that's why you could not have done a Mashicha, and therefore Mesira is the appropriate kinyan for a svina. Well, I'm a Seifa. Let's look at the Seifa, which we just learned, but we're going to learn it again, of the brayso that we're saying is arguing on Rebbe. You will not be kanya the ship b'Mesira. You're only kanya b'Mashicha. Break the Gemara the Rishus Harabim. If we're talking about a brayso that the case was in Rishus Harabim, and that's why Rebbe couldn't use Mashicha for the ship, well, how could the Chachamim use Mashicha? The problem is the Rishus Harabim miman oiger. It's not like he could rent a place, so now he's pulling it into his own place. It's Rishus Harabim. Who is the baldover from whom can he rent this space? In other words, you don't have. He said Achim Shechena or Achim Yiskor es Mekoyim. Right? Those would be the two ways to be koina. How could you rent the space of a Rishus Harabim? Visu and Abba Mashicha Rishus Harabim Mikanya. Mashicha never works in Rishus Harabim. We are Abaye Barav with Amri Tavayu. Abaye and Rabba both agree. It must be right that Mesira koina Rishus Harabim. You know how you're koina Rishus Harabim with Mesira. We know where else. Or if it's property that doesn't belong to either one, you can't make a Mashiach because you have to pull it into your own property. Where are you koine b'Mashicha? Mashicha koine b'Simta, as we said, because the Simta, the Rashbam says, whoever is standing there at the moment, we consider him at that point in time as the owner of the property. B'Chatzer, and you can be koine with Chatzer if it's Shehishal Shneim, if the Chatzer belongs to the purchaser and the seller. The Agba koine b'Chama. The ultimate in Kinyan is Kinyan Agba. That works everywhere. So now we're back to the Kasha. How could the Chachamim argue on Rebbe and say that you need to make a Mashicha on the ship if it's Rishus Harabim? Zok the Gemara, my Achiyim Shechanan Nami, the Ka'amar, when the Chachamim said that you're not cutting the ship until you either make a Mashicha or until you rent the space, Umay Achi Yiskers Mekayim the Ka'amar, Hachi Ka'amar, this is what it means. Achiyim Shechena, Rishus Harabim L'Simta. Either you'll have to schlep it in to a simta, and the Rishus Bailam, and if the ship is in the Rishus Bailam, loikana acha yiskar es mekayim. You're not going to be kind it until you rent its space. Let's see what the Rashbam says. The Chachamim ma'im loikana. The Rishus Harabim miman loiker. V'su Mashicha Rishus Harabim mikanya v'abai rava. What did the Chachamim mean when they say you need to make a kinyan Mashicha on this ship? Is Rishus Harabim l'Simta? They'll have to schlep it into the Simta. The Chachamim gave two options: either make a Mashicha, which we now defined as pulling it out of the Rishus Harabim into a Simta, but they also said rent the space where it is currently. How could you do that? It's a Rishus Harabim. If it's not a Rishus Harabim, rather the animal is found in the Rishus Habaylam, lekana achi yiskar v'cheinikir. Okay, Gavalti. The Trey Pirchi Kaparich Beresha. Originally, we were asking two kashas. A, how do you do Mashiach and Rosh Hashanah? B, how are you B'soicher, the space in Rosh Hashanah? Well, the B'soicher Metartel Tabayu, and the Gemara answered both options that the Chachamim suggested for the purchase of a ship. How can he rent it? And the other option that their Rabbanan gave was Mashicha b'Sharabim Mikanya. The Amri Tavayu, both Abaya and both Rava said, Svaris Ninu. There's no Xeris Akasav. They're saying this on their own Svara that Mashicha doesn't work for Sharabim. Okay, Gavalti. Mashicha. So this is quoting the member of Abaya and Rava that Mashicha bein b'svina bein behema gasa. The Cholshkein behema daka. All of these cases, a Mashicha is kind of besimta. Why? We consider the symptom that it belongs to whoever is standing there at that time, and therefore we're both there making this transaction, so it's like it's ours. Once you could possibly do Mashicha, you cannot do Masira at all. Again, the Iker Masira Urcha B'Shus HaRabim. Masira will only work when Rishus Harabim because you can't do Mashicha there. Mashicha Urcha B'Rishus Sheyesh Lechelet. Mashicha can work in any Rishus where you have a part of it. So a Simta would also allow you, or a Chatush Shtufim would also allow you to make a Mashicha. Avalak Ba Kaina B'Chamakoyim Afilu B'Shus HaMiyuchad L'Mocher Levad. Ubeshadi. So the Gemara answers, what did the Chacham mean when it said Achim Shechela? Lo B'Shus HaRabim Mayri. It must be that you're making the Mashiach not into Rosh Hashanah. Elo Shim Shechenim Rosh Hashanah L'Simta the Kani Bei Mashiach. Under those circumstances, Mashiach is Kani. What was the second suggestion that the Chacham made? Which is really of Nasan. To be Kainit, Yiskas Mekayma is Lav Rosh Hashanah. It can't be speaking of Rosh Hashanah because who are you going to rent the property from? L'Hachik Amar the Heichad of Rosh Hashanah. If it happens to be that this transaction occurred in the Rishus of the Moicher, less like Takana, loy b'misira v'loy b'mishicha, ache yitzgeres mekayma. Okay, now we're going to move on to a new thing. Now that we saw the next shiny object that we found, the run after was Abaya and Rav. So Abaya and Rav said that Mesira is koine in Rishus HaRabim, and in a chatzor she'enich shal shneim, and Meshicha is koine davka b'chatzor b'simta or b'chatzor shal shneim. So Zoktamar Lema Abai v'Rava the Amri Karebi. Let's say that Abai and Rava hold like Rebbe. So now we want to make the Machlokes Rebbe and the Chachamim that Rebbe holds like Abai and Rava. So let's have a look at the Rishbam. Lema Abai v'Rava the Amri Karebi. The Amar Svina Niknas b'Mesira b'Shus HaRabim. What did Rebbe say? That how are you calling a Svina b'Shus HaRabim? You're calling it b'Mesira. V'loy Karabanan. It seems fakir that Abai and Rava will disagree with the Rabbanan of the Brisa. Why? The Ilu Rabbanan less Lu Mesira Koine B'Shus HaRabim. If you think about it for a minute, when we just gave a teretz, we're speaking B'Shus HaRabim, and that's why Rebbe needed Mesira because the Mashiach won't work, and according to the Chacham won't either work. You have to make Mashiach into a Simta or rent space if the case was different, if it was in the Rishus HaMoicher. So then what's the Machlokes? They both agree you cannot make a Mashiach B'Shus HaRabim. The Machlokes is well Masira. Rebbe holds we could still do Kinyan Masira, even though it's a Rishus HaRabim. And the Chum holds you couldn't do the Masira. Now, if you look at Abai and Rava, it sounds from them like you would be able to do the Masira. So Lema Abai and Rava, Dami Karebi, Damar Svina Niktas, the Masira B'Shus HaRabim, V'loy Karabana. Why? The Ilu Rabbanan less the Masira Koine B'Shus HaRabim. According to Rabban, your only option was to schlep it into a Simta out of the Rishus HaRabim. So now come the Chayz Abai and Rava by saying that you couldn't do Mashiach here, but you do Masira. Why would they paskin like Rebbe against the Rabbanon when we're going to paskin like the Rabbanon because they're the Roiv and they hold that you cannot do Masira in the Rishus HaRabim. So back to Gemara, Lema Abai v'Rava Dama Karebi. Amar Ravashi, Zok Ravashi, Now we're going to make another difference. Amar Ravashi, I'm going to look inside the Bach. Amar Ravashi, Ida Amar Lei, Leich Chazekuk. If the Moicher told the Lekeach, here's my ship, Leich Chazekukni. Hachanam. Everybody agrees that Messiah works. If you said Leich Chazekukni, you were instructed by the Moicher. Here's the Sfina, gives him the ropes to pull the ship. Everybody agrees their Messiah works. Even the Rosh Hashanah, Sai the Rabban and Sai Rebbe. Hacha b'may askinan, the Amar Lei Mishoichukni. What happened here? The owner said, Leich Mishoichukni. Go make a Mashiach. So the question is, Mar Savar Kepeda, the Chachamim hold, he didn't say Leich Chazekukni, he said Leich Mishoichukni. So he said, I don't want you to be koine with Mashiach. I bedavka want you to be koine. Only with Mashiach, you'll have to figure out how to be koine with Mashiach, like schlepping it into a sim. Umar Savar and Rebbe holds, no, I didn't care if you're koine with Mashiach, which is Mar Mokamuloi. I was just telling him good advice, get it out of the Rosh Hashanah once I pass it over to you and get it into a protected area. So Kum Techois, everybody holds that even in Rosh Hashanah, Kiddush Masir works, and the Machlokes in our Brisa is a very limited case. What someone means when he says Leich Mishoichukni, which is always what happens. You look at a Brisa, it seems like it's a big Machlokes if Masir works, and then it's only in a specific case that has nothing to do with the mechanics of Mashiach and Masira, just all about what this guy Punk meant in this very limited specific case. Gedaka B'Kodesh, you see a Mishnah, you get all excited, you have a grand psak, and then the Gemara says, no, it's not getting in such an unusually remote, simple case that it's not relevant to the main sunnah. So that's what the Gemara did here as well. Zok to Gemara, Kol Leicha, to Zok to Rishbam, Kol Leicha do Amalei Balasfino Lekech, Leichazekukni, Vulacha, and the Lekeach, listen, V'yachas ba, and he grabbed the ship, the Hani Masira. That is the textbook case of Masira, handing over the reins. The proverbial handing over the reins. They're kula amalek pligi dikani. The vade niklis b'Masir b'shus harab. Sai the Chachamim, Sai Rebbe, and of course Abai and Rabba. Everybody agrees Masira technically works with Shus Harab. The question is, if he uses that lashon of Leich Mishoichukni, what did he mean? Rabbanan have Kpeda, Legomer Laknoiso, Eleva Mashiach, Eleva Masira. I'm, as the Mocher saying, I'm not willing for you to be kind and let you make a full Mashiach. Kim Yirtze Mocher, Yuchalach Saboy, Kozman Shleimash, Shusay. What's the nafkamina? Nafkamina is, even though I handed you the reins, until you actually pull the ship into your little area, you're not kind and I could reverse the sail. But Rebbe holds, no, he meant the Masira. Why did he say Leich Mishoichukni? Marimakim. Ibayis afilu l'moshcha miyad l'shuscha Leich Mishoich. So the Masira Knisala. All he meant to say is, I'm being kind to you right now. I'm being mad at you right now. You can go take it into your garage. Right here, right now. That's all he meant when he said Leich Mishoich. Not to say I don't want to give you a Kinyan Masira. Just to say you can take it home. It's ready to go. Yes. The sale is complete. It's yours. Okay, Gavalti. Zok the head of the Gemara. Amar Papa. Hi, man. The Mazbin l'shtar l'chavrei. Someone sold a star to his friend. So the halacha is in the star. So I'm selling a star, meaning Reuben is owed $500,000 by Shimon, and he wants to sell the loan to Levi. So he has to do Masira, and he also has to write a star identifying that he's selling the star. So this is talking about the Madam who holds you need Masirin Ksiva. So you know what he has to write? Kni bikoina the star choiv, kni loch. So the Bach sticks in the word loch. Hu v'chol shibuda debei. You're not just being kind of a piece of paper, you're being kind of all of the shibud included in the star, the $500,000 shibud, to transfer from me to you. Gewaltig. Let's see if the Rashbam speaks about this word. So not only do you make Masir, you hand over the star to Levi, you have to write another star identifying what the sale was. What he's actually doing is, by saying what you have to write, he's telling you which of the two Tanaim we paskala. And he's saying the Hilchos HaKarbanon, the Pligila de Rebbe, the Amri Achi Yichtavim. Right? Rebbe said a minute ago that you don't need a star. The Chachamim said, which is Reb Nosson, that you need ishtar. So Reb Papa over here is paskening, is that we pass like Reb Nosson, that you need not only to hand over the original shtar choiv, but you have to write another shtar identifying what it is that you're selling. You're selling the shibud. The Gamba Lefarish, Sheikh Yichdev Lei, Ahu Shtar, this star, what should be written in the star? Beautiful. Zok Gemara. Amar Abashi, Amrisa L'Shmaitza, Kamei Rav Kahana. So I said over a Papa Salacha to Rav Kahana. V'amris Lei, and I told him, V'amris Lei, Amar Abashi, Amrisa L'Shmaitza, Kamei Rav Kahana. V'amris Lei, and I told him, Taima, the Kosav Le'achi. It's only a good transfer of the actual shibud if he wrote the star. Haloi Kosav Le'achi. If he didn't write that over, like honey, it wouldn't be honey. But that doesn't make any sense. I just sold you a piece of paper. It was a $500,000 chayv. I sold it to you face at a 20% discount, right? So I sold it to you for $400,000, right? Is he going to be buying now a piece of paper as a bottle stopper for $400,000? That makes no sense. Really, what are you talking about? In Lotzer. That's exactly what he was doing. So now there's a little bit mud, because we always have this concept of why don't you identify how much was sold by how much you paid? And we always have a story. It's karka. There's no I know about karkais. This is not karka anymore. This is metalpin. So why isn't there I know over here? So let's have a quick look at the Rashba. Not about a snap, just a plug for it. If it was herring, right? Like you said in the story of Shabbos. You're not kind of. V'amai v'chilot shop sluchus ekani zeh hasvarahu dimishum gvias choy v'kosav boy kosovenly. Surely his intent is to sell the shibud. So why do I need to start to say I'm selling the shibud? It's obvious that that's what I'm selling. The hilchach b'mesir lechudmikli k'Rebbe should be kind of. Normally, no. In lotzer v'lotzer v'imishumay no. Yes, mishno. So this is the Rashbam's kasha. It's obvious from how much I'm paying for it that clearly it's not going to be a good sale. Because if I paid $400,000 for a piece of paper, that's I know yes mishnos. I'm paying more than a sixth extra over its value. The mecha should be bottled. V'imishumay no. Yes mishnos. I have a bittul mecha. And you'd have to give back the money. So what he's saying is yes. All meant is lots of lots. That's going to cause that the whole sale should dissolve. No. So the whole sale will dissolve. But the main thing is that you didn't transfer the chayv. Okay. Now I just want to stop a minute, because if you look in this Rashbam that we just learned, there's a little tzeichen from Reb Kiva Eiger. Reb Kiva Eiger tells us to look only one blot further to Daf Ayin Ches Amud Aleph. And in Ayin Ches Amud Aleph, the Rashbam makes a very important point. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at what happened over here. The Gemara says over here as follows: Vatnan. Let's see what the Sugi was talking about before. It was talking about if you sell a rig, a plowing rig, are the bulls that pull the rig included in the sale? That was the discussion that the Gemara was having. And there's a shaila, yeah, included in the sale, it's not included in the sale, but once again, there, how much you paid for it should be a strong indicator as to what was included. So Zog to Gemara, v'chitema bittul mekach l'rabon leslu, v'loi, there is bittul mekach. V'atanan Rabbi Yehuda Omer Moicha Sefer Torah, v'hemu margolius, and those three things ain't lahanei no, because sometimes they could be worth a lot more than what meets the eye. So amru loy amru ella es elu. We only said that these three items you cannot properly assess their value. No matter how much you paid for them, it would be a good sale. So therefore, my ein hadamim raya nami dekatami. We said over here ein hadamim raya. In other words, even though you're paying so much, way more than you would pay for a plow, obviously it must include the bakar. The Mishnah brings the sheet that holds ein hadamim raya to have a bittul mekach. It means it will be bittul mekach. The Bava Yisema ki amar abanon I know bittul mekach. When do you say I know bittul mekach? When do you say that if I pay too much for something, the whole sale is bottled because obviously I made a mistake. That's bichdei das toya. If a plow is worth $50,000 and I pay 60, that's enough extra that I'm ripped off. But a person can make a mistake from 50 to 60,000. But if I paid $1 million for a rig, that's not a mistake. Obviously, I want to give him a gift, so I'm looking for an excuse to give him more money. So that's bichdei das toya. Avu bichdei she'ena das toya loy eimer matana yohavu. Maybe I'm trying to give you extra money as a gift. I'm way overpaying.
Here, the das toya is the stuff the flavor gold.
So that's already enough.
Right. That's like
But so let's see what the Rashbam says. Because Kiva Eger Tzeichen Su this Bam. When do you say no? I'm bittul mekach. That's if I actually legitimately thought it was worth more. Because I'm severely overpaying, but it's within reason that someone could be ripped off, could think that that's a normal price. The mekach tos. That's where he says bottom mekach is the mekach tos. If you're paying such an outlandish price for something, kimasnizin the tzemet to shove a pruta ain't you never pay an outlandish amount of money for a plow unless it includes the bulls. So al koponim, you have this svar that when you're severely overpaying, most likely when you're paying for a piece of paper, it's a penny or two. For $500,000, you would be paying significantly more, and you know for sure that you can't possibly be paying $400,000 for a star. So let's see how Rabbi Kiva Eger articulates the kasha, and then Mati has a teretz. So let's have a look at Rabbi Kiva Eger's kasha. Zok tehilage Rabbi Kiva Eger. Rashbam is Rabbi Kiva Eger bayas, right? Rashbam v'omer li umach shaloi damav. Ayin lekamon ayin chesam aral for Rashbam. So the kasha must be, the kasha of giving must be, is here he's paying so much money, how could the Rashbam assume that it would be bottleneck? That's what the Rashbam said. This must be a matan. So Mati, what were you telling?
The mistake isn't on the value, the mistake is that he thought the plate would transfer.
So maybe that's what the Rashbam is saying. I thought I was buying the whole chayv. I thought I was buying the chayv, and therefore it makes sense that there's a bittul mekach. I hear much thing a very good teretz. If pshat is I know I'm overpaying so much, and therefore it should be a good sale, even lots of slichusay. So then I bizarre Kivik is asking a bombadik kash. Why did the Rashbam say at the end that it's just a mekach tos? Maybe he should have said no. So then there would be. Kivik said, why should it mekach tos? If I'm paying so much, I obviously want to be giving a gift. Mati saying no. Maybe tos is that I thought I was buying the chayv, and that's why I paid so much. I hear. So we don't understand. So the way we have to understand is we don't fully understand Rabbi Kiva Eger's kasha of tzarechiyah, because if we would, then we wouldn't have this teretz. So in lots of lotzer, let it be a bittul mekach. So Rabbi Kiva Eger, it shouldn't be a bittul mekach because it's so much more. So Mati is saying, no, there's a difference. Here I could have made a mistake, and I could have thought that the whole chayv was included. And that is a legitimate mistake. And it should in fact be a mekach tos. I hear your kasha. Your kasha very stark. They have a very good kasha. Okay, once again, I can't start tomorrow's daf. It's too short to take out because then we're not going to have anything to do tomorrow. So Be'ez Hashem, we will be mamshich tomorrow.
The game is split.